The Galactic Educational Exchange Program had seemed like such a progressive idea when the Council first proposed it. Representatives from dozens of species would send their brightest minds to study together, fostering understanding and cooperation across the stars. What the planners hadn't anticipated was the Vorthak delegation arriving with their offspring in tow. Mino pressed her face against the observation deck's transparent aluminum, watching as the sleek Vorthak transport ship docked. With the station, even through the reinforced barrier, she could hear the distinctive chittering sounds that made most species' blood run cold. The Vorthak were apex predators from a death world where everything had evolved to kill everything else, and they had emerged victorious from that evolutionary arms race. "Are you insane?" Daniel's voice carried across the common area as he argued with Station Administrator Kels, a nervous Centaurian whose blue skin had turned an alarming shade of purple. "You want us to what?" "The Vorthak delegation has informed us that their culture requires the presence of their young during important educational endeavors," Kels explained, his three eyes darting between the assembled students. "It's a matter of cultural significance." Mino turned from the window, studying the faces of her fellow exchange students. The Melonian representatives had actually started secreting their stress pheromones, creating a sickly sweet smell that made everyone else even more uncomfortable. The crystalline Zephyrians were vibrating at frequencies that indicated extreme agitation, their harmonic voices creating discordant notes that set everyone's teeth on edge. "But they're bringing Vorthak younglings," whispered Essa, a delicate Falerian whose cat-like features were contorted with fear. "Have you seen the documentary footage? Even their babies can tear through reinforced steel with their bare claws." Daniel ran a hand through his dark hair, looking as frustrated as Mino felt. As the only two humans in the program, they'd already faced their share of skepticism from other species who considered humanity either too primitive or too recklessly aggressive to belong among civilized galactic society. "How many younglings are we talking about?" Mino asked, stepping away from the window. 12, Kels replied. "Ages ranging from what we would consider 6 to 14 standard years." The room erupted in panicked chatter. The Aquarian representative actually fainted, their water-breathing apparatus making alarming bubbling sounds as they hit the floor. "And you need someone to supervise them during the academic sessions?" Daniel pressed. "The adult Vorthak will be attending lectures and laboratory work. Their young cannot be left unsupervised. It's against their cultural practices. But none of our staff," Kels trailed off, wringing his hands, "are trained in xenopsychology with predator species," Mino finished. "And none of the other student representatives are willing." She looked around the room again. It was true. Every non-human face showed varying degrees of terror at the prospect of being left alone with Vorthak children. Even the usually confident, draconian representative whose species prided itself on being descended from apex predators was backing toward the exit. "I'll do it," Mino said quietly. The room went silent except for the continued bubbling from the unconscious Aquarian. "Mino, no," Daniel said immediately. "You can't be serious." "Why not?" She crossed her arms, meeting his concerned gaze. "Someone has to do it, and clearly nobody else is willing." "Because they're Vorthak," Essa squeaked. "Their idea of play involves hunting live prey." "They're children," Mino replied firmly. "Regardless of their species, they're still just kids who need supervision while their parents are busy." Kels looked like he might cry with relief. "You would truly volunteer for this duty?" "On one condition," Mino said. "Daniel assists me." "Absolutely not," Daniel protested. "Mino, this is suicide." She turned to face him fully. "Dan, think about it. What do we know about humans that other species don't understand?" He frowned, considering. "That we're more adaptable than they give us credit for?" "That we're pack-bonded with everything," she corrected. "We're the species that looked at wolves and thought pet material. We turned apex predators into companions, who sleep in our beds and play with our actual children. If anyone can handle a group of predator younglings, it's us." The docking bay's atmospheric seals hissed as the Vorthak transport finished its connection procedures. Through the station's internal communication system, they could hear the heavy footsteps of the arriving delegation. "They're coming," Kels whispered, as if speaking too loudly might somehow attract their attention through several decks of reinforced metal. "Then we'd better get ready," Mino said. She looked at Daniel. "Are you with me?" He was quiet for a long moment, then sighed. "You know what? Why not? Worst case scenario, we become the first humans to be eaten by alien children. That's got to be worth some kind of historical footnote." "That's the spirit," Mino grinned. 3 hours later, Mino found herself sitting in the station's largest recreational facility, surrounded by 12 of the most dangerous juvenile life forms in known space. The Vorthak young were not what she had expected. Oh, they were certainly intimidating. Even the smallest among them stood nearly as tall as Mino, with obsidian-black carapaces that seemed to absorb light, and razor-sharp claws that could extend from their 4-fingered hands at will. Their compound eyes tracked movement with predatory precision, and their mandibles clicked constantly in what she was learning was their equivalent of casual conversation. But they were also curious, energetic, and surprisingly well-behaved. "Tell us more about your home world," chittered Zax, who seemed to be the group's informal leader despite being one of the younger ones. "Is it true that you have creatures that hunt in packs like you do?" "Some of them," Daniel said, having warmed up to the situation considerably once he realized the younglings were more interested in stories than violence. "We have wolves, which are sort of like—" He paused, trying to find a comparison they would understand. "Like Shadowfangs, but smaller, and they work together," Mino suggested, referencing a creature from Vorthak folklore that their teacher had shown them holovids of. The younglings chittered excitedly, their equivalent of laughter. "And you made them into companions?" asked another, her name something like Kithara, but with clicking sounds Mino couldn't quite reproduce. "We call them dogs now," Mino explained. "They live in our homes and help us with work and play with our children." "Incredible," Zax marveled. "Your species pack bonds with other predators. No wonder you're not afraid of us." "Should we be?" Daniel asked, genuinely curious. The younglings exchanged glances, their compound eyes creating a strange shifting pattern of reflected light. "Mother says fear is what prey feels," Kithara said carefully. "You don't smell like prey." "What do we smell like?" Mino asked. "Like potential packmates," Zax replied after a moment of consideration. "It's confusing, but nice." Later that evening, after the Vorthak adults had returned from their academic sessions to collect their young, Mino and Daniel found themselves back in the common area. The other exchange students were staring at them with a mixture of awe and bewilderment. "How?" Essa whispered. "How are you both still alive?" "More importantly," added the draconian representative, who had slunk back after the Vorthak had departed, "how did you get them to like you?" Mino shrugged. "We treated them like kids instead of monsters." "But they're a hunter-killer species," protested one of the Melonians. "So are we," Daniel pointed out. "Humans are persistence predators. We literally chased our food until it died of exhaustion. The only difference is that we also figured out agriculture and didn't need to keep doing it." "The younglings want us to supervise them again tomorrow," Mino added with a smile. "Apparently we're the first non-Vorthak adults who've ever been willing to play their traditional games." "What kind of games?" Kels asked nervously. "Hide and seek," Daniel replied. "Turns out when you're not running for your life, it's actually pretty fun." As word spread throughout the station about the humans who had successfully babysat the galaxy's most feared predator species, Mino couldn't help but feel proud. Once again, humanity had proven that sometimes the most unexpected approach was the most effective one. After all, they were the species that had looked at the universe's most dangerous creatures and asked, not how do we kill it, but how do we make it part of the family? That night, as she prepared for sleep, Mino received a message from the Vorthak delegation leader. The translation was rough, but the meaning was clear. "Your pack honors our young. This will not be forgotten. Sometimes she reflected the best way to handle dangerous situations wasn't to fight or flee. Sometimes you just had to volunteer to babysit.